Google has delivered a major surprise with its quarterly earnings. Analysts from the biggest investment banks had set their expectations too low and were genuinely impressed by the figures which sent the stock soaring even before regular trading had begun. In this video, we'll explore what's next for the stock and what price targets it might still reach. So stay tuned, we're going to continue right after the intro. Hello and welcome to another video from Bloomberg Capital. I'm Elena and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague Henrik. Today, we're forecasting a price target for Google and analyzing the stock in light of its quarterly report. At the end of the video, we'll also dive into the technical aspects of the Google stock. You definitely don't want to miss that. Henrik, what happened that led Google to exceed all expectations?
Well, Google certainly surprised with their quarterly earnings report, and in a positive sense, because the numbers are looking quite promising. On one hand, the revenue rose by a total of 14%, which is already quite good. But on the other hand, the company also managed to increase its profitability. They not only increased their profits by 14%, but by a total of 19%. But now the question stands, what is the reason for this rise? On one hand, Google Cloud is certainly impressed, especially with their AI-based solutions, whose demand is still skyrocketing. And one thing that definitely awakened the interest of investors is the increased investment into this AI infrastructure, which should lead to more gains coming in the future. And now many analysts have increased their targets for the Google stock, and we already saw this in price performance, because price after these quarterly earnings already increased quite a bit, but we'll get more into that later in the analysis.
Thanks for that summary, Henrik. Didn't that basically fulfill the scenario we outlined in our last video about a month ago?
Well, if we take a quick look at our video from about a month ago, then we see what our scenario back then was. On one hand, we see our buy zone, but on the other hand, we are also seeing our expectation, which is for price to rise. Now, if we compare that to the chart now, then we see that this came to pass exactly. And about a month ago, when we posted a video, was pretty much the exact time when the low on the chart occurred. And from then on, we saw rising prices. From this point, almost up to 20%.
Thanks again, Henrik. So our buy-in price was reached. What's next for the stock from a technical perspective? Can we take a closer look?
Absolutely. But before we do, I'd like to remind all of our viewers that we analyze stocks like Google on a daily basis. Our analysis portfolio now includes more than 180 assets: gold, silver and their mining stocks, Bitcoin, Ethereum and over 20 altcoins, along with equities from the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. And just like with Google, we identify price levels where we find the asset undervalued and offer low-risk entry points. So, if you're curious to learn more, feel free to join our free Discord community, and you might even be interested in our premium offerings as well. But let's get right into the analysis. So if we look at the chart, on one hand, we're seeing some resistance levels at the previous high from which the Google price fell. And right now, we're actually finding ourselves at these resistance levels again. But thanks to the quarterly earnings, we actually overshot this first resistance level with quite some strength. So what we should expect from here is actually to consolidate above this resistance level, turning into support and then push higher from there. And then once we have also cleared the second resistance level, we should see an acceleration of the price increase here, as we are then entering the mid phase of the overall trend, which should be the strongest and where we see the biggest rise in price. So now it comes to the important part, the price goals. So the first price goal is around $209, so around the previous high of Google, which should be reached relatively easily. But after we've actually seen a sustained push above this level, we should see the already mentioned acceleration in the price increase, which should push prices to $250 pretty easily after that. But even beyond that, in the coming months and years, we should see a sustained upwards trend, which should bring prices even higher.
Thanks. Well, that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, here at Bloombridge Capital.